Welcome to the Adaptation Fund's training course on locally led adaptation grants, an introduction to LLA. The course has 3 sections. First, an introduction to locally led adaptation, referred to as LLA. Second, case studies of successful LLA projects. And third, access to resources to support LLA project development. There is a review section at the end of the training. The full training takes 15 minutes to complete. You can pause at any time to apply part of the training or take a break and return at your leisure. The aim of the training is to learn about LLA and LLA-specific grants available from the Adaptation Fund. The objectives of the training are to develop a deeper understanding of LLA, gain insights into current LLA projects, and support uptake of LLA as a project delivery mechanism. Section 1. An Introduction to LLA. Vulnerable communities are often the hardest hit by the impacts of climate change. LLA is a mechanism to shift power, resources, and agency directly to vulnerable communities, recognizing their right and ability to build their own adaptive capacity. LLA recognizes the value of local knowledge and expertise to address climate risk and ensures that local actors have equitable access to power and resources to build climate resilience. LLA is defined by who is leading the adaptation efforts. Local actors are the people and communities below the sub-national level, including Indigenous peoples, traditional authorities, and customary governance structures, youth and women-led organizations and social movements, historically underrepresented groups such as displaced populations and marginalized ethnic or caste groups, community-based and grassroots organizations, including cooperatives, associations, and producer groups, local government authorities and NGOs, local enterprise, including small and medium-sized enterprises, households, and individuals. LLA enables adaptation strategies to be more responsive to lived realities, more innovative in addressing complex risks, and ultimately more effective and equitable. However, adaptation initiatives that are implemented or managed locally are not truly LLA unless local actors have real decision-making authority over priorities, resources, and implementation. As LLA requires that power and agency are devolved to the lowest appropriate level, ensuring local ownership at every stage. Adaptation projects owned and led by local people deliver the greatest and most durable results for climate resilience. 8 principles for LLA were developed by the Global Commission on Adaptation, GCA, and launched at the 2021 Climate Adaptation Summit to guide and promote LLA. The Adaptation Fund endorsed the principles in 2021, along with more than 70 other institutions. The 8 principles are: devolving decision-making to the lowest appropriate level, giving local institutions and communities more direct access to finance and decision-making power. Addressing structural inequalities faced by women, youth, children, disabled, displaced, Indigenous peoples, and marginalized ethnic groups, and encouraging meaningful participation and leadership from all. providing patient and predictable funding that can be accessed more easily, supporting long-term development of local government processes, capacity, and institutions. Investing in local capabilities to leave an institutional legacy, improving the capabilities of local institutions without being dependent on project-based financier funding. Building a robust understanding of climate risk and uncertainty through a combination of local, traditional, indigenous, generational, and scientific knowledge. Enabling flexible programming and learning to address the inherent uncertainty in adaptation. Ensuring transparency and accountability through processes that are transparent and accountable to local stakeholders. Delivering collaborative action and investment across sectors, initiatives, and levels to ensure that different initiatives and different sources of funding support each other. All Adaptation Fund LLA projects and programs strive to operationalize these principles in a holistic manner. The 8 principles of LLA provide a framework for driving adaptation that is both more inclusive and more impactful by ensuring that local actors are at the center of shaping adaptation priorities, processes, and outcomes. Applying these principles means confronting existing power dynamics and being open to new, sometimes uncomfortable, ways of working. It's a learning journey that requires collaboration and reflection. Importantly, those with current decision-making authority and control over resources have a key responsibility to realign systems and funding mechanisms so they uphold and advance these principles. The Adaptation Fund previously pioneered enhanced direct access. The first 2 regular-sized projects were approved in 2014 for Costa Rica and South Africa. Both projects were very successful, and Costa Rica, which empowered indigenous communities to restore traditional, sustainable farming practices while conserving land and resources, received an international Innovago Award for Social Innovation in 2019. In April 2024, the window for enhanced direct access was merged into an expanded and enhanced window for single-country LLA projects and programs. The window was also expanded to Adaptation Fund-accredited NIEs, RIEs, and MIEs to enable more developing countries to access the window and deliver LLA. Section 2. Case Studies of LLA. Honduras and Peru are strong examples of LLA projects approved under the new LLA Single Country Grant window. The Comisión Acción Social Menonita, CASM, of Honduras was awarded an LLA Single Country project in 2024 to increase the adaptive capacity and climate resilience of indigenous and Afro-descendant communities in marine coastal regions. The project proposal adheres to the LLA principles. In particular, decision-making power is devolved to 25 national, subnational, and local institutions, enabling them to design and implement the project. Local ownership of adaptation priorities is achieved through communities identifying context-specific vulnerabilities, including food insecurity, flood impacts, and health risks, and co-designing the solutions. Direct access to finance is provided through a funding mechanism that channels resources directly to qualified local entities. This allows Indigenous and Afro-descent communities to lead adaptation efforts. Building long-term partnerships and institutional capacity will lead to scalable, replicable models of LLA. In a second example, the Peruvian Trust Fund for National Parks and Protected Areas was awarded an LLA Single Country Project Grant in 2024 to develop a fund for innovative adaptation in vulnerable ecosystems in the north of Peru. LLA highlights of the Peru proposal include leading partners acting as facilitators to coordinate with local authorities and engage communities to address ecosystem-based adaptation, resilient infrastructure, and livelihood diversification rooted in local realities. Gender and Indigenous people specialists embedded in the technical team, with clear criteria from the start to reach marginalized and vulnerable groups. A project cycle that enables iterative learning and adjustment, allowing the program to respond flexibly to evolving needs and local conditions. Financing climate change adaptation measures for vulnerable rural families in North Peru is not only a matter of justice and social responsibility, but also a strategic investment to build resilient communities and safeguard vital ecosystems. Section 3. Adaptation Fund Guidance and Criteria for LLA Grants. In total, 3 windows for LLA funding have been approved by the Adaptation Fund Board. Regional LLA projects involving 3 or more countries, LLA aggregator programs, and single country LLA grants. This training focuses on the single country LLA grants. Single country LLA grants are available to accredited national implementing entities, NIEs, regional implementing entities, RIEs, and multilateral implementing entities, MIEs, of the Adaptation Fund. Single country LLA grants should encourage a national programmatic approach for LLA and enable the design of projects targeting subnational or local government needs. In the single country LLA grant window, the funding available is up to $5 million per project or program. The funding window does not count against the country cap of funding. Project formulation grants, PFGs, are available for this window. Further information on proposal preparation can be found in Training 2, LLA Project Proposal Preparation. Section 4. LLA Review. In summary, LLA empowers local communities to build their own adaptive capacity and resilience. LLA is most powerful when delivered through local ownership and leadership. There are 8 principles for LLA endorsed by the Adaptation Fund since 2021. Best practice examples from Honduras and Peru include identifying the local adaptation needs and realities for communities who are vulnerable to climate change, empowering these communities to access international climate finance to design and implement solutions for climate change adaptation at the local level, and developing a legacy through capacity building, knowledge sharing, and livelihood development. Detailed information on proposal preparation can be found in the next training on LLA Project Proposal Preparation. Test yourself with this quick quiz. Can you give examples of local actors? How many LLA principles are there? What is the appropriate level for LLA leadership? Here are the answers. Did you get them right? Thank you for completing the LLA Introduction Training. Now go to the next video to find out about the Single Country LLA Grant Proposal process in detail and hear case studies from Bhutan and Rwanda.